Welcome to the So Weird podcast. We hope you enjoy part 2 of our interview with Belinda Metz.
Belinda, I randomly came across this article and I didn't know this, but you are the voice of the lady on the phone, right? And I read like this crazy article. Tell us about that. That you're the lady who says you've reached the wrong number and dial right
God,
or
Jimmy.
yeah.
You're,
Tell us about that.
Oh my God, that's a great question. So I started in voiceover, right? Like back in, I told you guys that I was living in Toronto and I was like, wait a minute, like you can get paid to talk. And I mean, I talk too much sometimes anyway. So wait a minute. And I phoned my guitarist up and said, meet me at the studio. And I wrote this, commercial reel. And we recorded it that night, late into 6 a.m. in the morning and threw music in it and all that. And I gave it to the agent the next day and she's like, well, what's this? I said, well, I want to like do voice stuff, like fast forward to what Jimmy's saying. So I started and I love it.
You're good at it.
Like, I just love it. Right. And also I will say, because nobody sees you. And so it's like, and I loved working with clients and I mean, yeah, okay, I have a voice and I could I do goofy voices and all that stuff. But part of it, it's also how you're going to work with people, right? And so I started to get my reputation was like, I could work with anybody in the studio. Even if you would get like a wonky client that would go, can you say the? And I went, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I got, and I just they want to be heard and seen, right? So, and I loved it, right? So fast forward, in regards to the article, Jimmy. Okay, so here's how it went. So then I came out to the West Coast, right? And I'm represented by Characters Talent Agency. And I met the voice agent here, Gail, who was just superb, wonderful woman. She retired, but now we have this another amazing, I have a great voice agents there. But okay, so there was this audition, right? They call it IVR. So IVR is like the voice stuff, right? In like when you phone voice prompts, right? Like when you're on,
Sure.
hey, can you please hold, blah, 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 right? And so she called me and she said, can you put something down for this? And at that time, unlike now, I mean, now we put it on phones, we ship it, I went into the studio and I put it down, and it was interesting because TELUS is a big, huge, massive phone company here, right?
Yeah, they didn't hire me. I applied there like twice in Vegas. They didn't hire me, but whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna have to talk to them. Yeah, and they wanted to change all the IVR systems. So what that is, it's like when you call and say press 1 or get this, troubleshooting in your computer and stuff, right? So the man that hired me was from San Francisco. It was a wonderful, I was so thankful. I remember that day crying. I was crying because, I'm raising my daughter and I got this contract. And in the contract, I can say it now, they had to use me within 6 months. Okay. So they had 6 months to use me to begin reworking the whole IVR system, not just the 411, but the entire system, right?
You're so iconic.
Yeah. And
you're such an icon.
Yeah. And literally, it was like, there's a big huge TELUS building here, and they had a recording studio in it. They bring me, and it literally, I'm not kidding you. You sit in a booth that's like small. Okay. And then he gives me this, and the producer was hilarious. He was like this Coca-Cola pop and now 500 copies. He was fantastic, and smoking and stuff like that, but he was a great producer. And then the engineer, right? And then I'd come in and I swear to God, they would hand me scripts that were like this thick, and then you put it on the thing. I freaking put my headphones on and I'm like, here we go. And I'd be like, like 6 hours in the booth. I mean, I'd get my pee breaks and tea and stuff like that. But then we started doing things like I'd have to go 1, 1, 2, 2. So we had to do all the numbers. We had to do all the, when you call me and go, okay, so press that and do that. Oh, so here's your computer. I mean, when you hear my voice now, it's different because my tone changed for that. They gave me a really nice microphone, but I made sure that my tone had to be very a certain way, right? And the producer had great ears. He'd go, no, no, no. He says, that's not friendly enough. And so I'd be like, yes, how can I help you? All right, well, press 1. And there was times where I would break in the booth. I go, what do you want? Right? And they kept all these outtakes like, okay, just press 1. Okay. Like, is there something wrong with you? Because I don't want to talk to you. And I've got a kid to go home to. So like, get off the phone. Right. And the producer be like, yeah, okay, we're not keeping that one. Right.
The bloopers.
So, yeah. So we started to build this and it was like layer upon layer. So the first 6 months, I must have done at least 60, 70 hours in the studio, at least. And incrementally. And then I would come back in and retouch it and do all that kind of stuff. But here's the funny thing, and I'll get to the article. I didn't sign an NDA. They didn't call it NDA, but it was a thing in my contract. Nobody was allowed to know me. So in other words, they couldn't know that I was on a show or that I was on nothing. You're not allowed. So, okay, no problem. So, okay, so we're layering it and we're doing all that kind of stuff. And for me, I mean, it was like, what a godsend gig it was. I was just like, thank you, 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 right? It was great. And then my friends, who some of them are savvy, technical people, like, you know, right? Like, I'm sure you have them too. Like I have this keyboard player who used to tour with me and he's just, I adore him. He can do anything. Like he would be our guy if we have stuff that we need. He's just got that mind. Well, all my friends were calling me on my phone going, you know, there's nothing freaking worse than listen to you tell me how I need to troubleshoot when I know you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. And it was me. They knew me. I mean, I couldn't even press pound. I couldn't. It went on a year or 2, 3, and then I did the 411, and then they had the whole basis of it. So I only came in an hour here, an hour there, and then there was no more contracts, right? So I wasn't contracted. Well, my daughter was visiting mom and dad in Edmonton, and I guess it got leaked or something like that. And Mia calls me and says, Mom, and she used to call my dad Opa, right? Opa and Omi, right? She goes, Opa and Omi are, and I could hear my mom and dad screaming in the back, oh my God. Like they're like, you're in the front page of the entertainment section with your like name and your photo, and you're like the voice of TELUS. And I just went, oh. And somebody found out. And they did it right. They did a whole article. Now, here's what's interesting. That's why I love the US when it comes to stuff like this. I'm just going to say, not that I'm not a believer in borders, because I think they should lift all borders. Okay. But what I love in the US, like if it was the US, they'd be jumping on this so fast going, man, we're going to make a whole thing of this. And this is great promotion for TELUS and right? They'd be like, oh man, like, so then they were doing these interviews, and they were taking the microphone and going to construction workers on the street, and they were going to all these people and realizing that I was a really nice person and I wasn't some ass on the phone. And I was taught, and it was really funny. It was like David Letterman, right? And a construction guy goes, wow, like, sorry, like you actually are nice, because I always yell at the phone when I have to do the voice prompts. And I said, yeah, I said, listen, I'm a good person. Somebody at TELUS at that time called my agent and said, yeah, so the article's out. And it's really
it was a big deal. Yeah,
like it's really great that she's doing all this, but do you think maybe like she could stop talking about it? And it's like, when we're in 2023, if it was me now, like even in this year, I'd be like, my agents would be like, yeah, no, she's talking. This is helping your company. So anyways, that's how that gig happened. And it's amazing that you found that. I was grateful for it and I loved it. And I'm still on the 411. Like if you dial in Canada 411 or you dial 411, it's like, yes, can I help you? You know?
I had no idea. That's awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
listen, it helped pay for my kid and blueberries and groceries, and
Yeah.
it was a great long-term gig. And I loved being in the studio, you know, that long. And it was funny that, you know, people had to listen to me to figure out how to do a Zoom call.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, you know, you are a celebrity. And so with that kind of title, I think it was very, like, it will catch the eye, you know. And then the article, it was good. Like, the article was like, she's actually an amazing person and she's an amazing singer. So it was pointing out kind of the good stuff toward the end of the article. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
It's that kind of title where part of me, if I was at home, in my hometown, I actually would have walked over to the newspaper and walked in, because they've done lots of articles and said, yeah, so can you retract that? And I'm here right now and I'm not going to leave until you retract that, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at now with like Instagram and social media. Like, I think all that stuff is really a beautiful tool when we use it really well, right? And like, but when people like diss on each other, I mean, I do talk open about certain things out there, but until I have my own podcast, which I really want to have this year, it's one thing I really, really want my own podcast. And I don't even
Do
know.
it.
I don't even know what it would be about. It would be just about heart and soul stories. And it would be a safe place to talk about things. Unless, okay, there's a tone, it's called frequency. There's a frequency in certain music and people's voice that is like, I just can't. Right? There's something about frequency in songs and music that, you know, or like you watch a movie, right? So that's what's amazing about So Weird, is that I believe the frequency of that show, not because I was on it, but the frequency of that show was way ahead of its time. I think that there was some scary stuff on it and some loving stuff on it, but there was like, I feel like when it got stopped, it was only the beginning.
I'm going to ask you, Belinda, have you ever experienced anything paranormal? And
yeah.
if so, can you elaborate?
Yes. I'm very, 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 very intuitive. And as a young kid, I never needed a whole bunch of friends. I just needed a few, right?
Yeah.
And believe it or not, as much as I feel open and like I love sharing with you guys and all that stuff, I never really like needed like parties and all this kind of stuff. But I had like a few good friends, and I was always like self-playing, and I was good with me. And also I would feel things and I would see things, and you just can't tell everybody. I remember my mom giving me a birthday party, and okay, so I invited some, you know, girls over and stuff. Only 3 of them were really nice, to tell you the truth. The other ones were just like, whatever. And the one girl, she's like, okay, we're going to play Ouija. And I was really upset. And again, nothing against anybody out there, because if you want to do that, have at it. Nothing, no judgment. But who I am, even then, I could feel this. And she starts like doing the whole thing, and I could feel an energy in the room, and I just said, you need to shut it down. And I went up to my mom, and then my mom, 5'2" Austrian, came down and she shut it down. And then she asked this kid that the kid had to go home. The kid's like crying, and it's a Ouija board. There's nothing. I want to shout. And she was one of these kids that wanted to shove it in my face. I'm just like, well, So I didn't like dark stuff like that, because, you're going to be playing with those energies. Okay, like this is going to go out there and people are going to be like, who is she and how? I, as a kid, saw UFOs and my mom never deterred me. I was in my bedroom. I've never shared this with anybody. So I was in my bedroom and I felt an energy like it just an energy around, right? And I always was rescuing animals when I was a kid, long before it became like a fashion, like rescuing. I hate to say a fashion now because I think sometimes people do things for the wrong reasons, but I would always like be bringing birds home and dogs and cats, like, helping these, because I could feel things, right? I always was very sensitive, which is why nobody taught you how to protect that. So people would make like either fun of you, or there would be family member that would abuse that and terrorize me, that kind of stuff. So I was in my bedroom and I felt this. I was drawing and I was painting and stuff like that, and I felt this energy outside. And I still to this day I can see the window because I've had recurring dreams on it. And sometimes when I do lucid dreaming, because I meditate quite a bit, and I meditate in different ways, right? Like there's no right or wrong way, right? And
Right.
sometimes I'll meditate, and as I was healing trauma over the years, like after a meditation I'll fall asleep and then I'll go into this lucid dreaming and I'll see these things, right? And that I think I was around 10 or 11 years old. I remember because 9 years old I was always, I'm just going to say I was always a happy kid too. I was just so creative and happy and la la la, all this kind of stuff, right? But 9 years old, something happened to me. So an assault. And so it was right in 10 years old. And then 11 years old was another thing. And I felt the energy. And then I could feel this over the house. And I looked out and there was this thing. It was like this Arcturian, I don't know, Lemurian, whatever it was. And I didn't see any beings, but I could feel them. And it wasn't scary. And it wasn't mean. And it was like it was just this feel. It was, I could see it. It was right, just hovering. And it's like, the feeling was, we're just here. So just know that. And so, and then it went. And then I went to go see my mom. And I told things to my mom that, my dad didn't know about, and definitely don't tell I only had one sibling because then I would just be teased and terrorized and all this stuff. And I told my mom. And my mom was very psychic. My mom was very intuitive. And so was my great Oma, who was 104. Like she was a gypsy, so very psychic. And I said to my mom, and my mom didn't go, oh, come on now and stop it and blah, blah, blah. And I said to her in Austrian, ich habe etwas gesehen. So I saw something outside. Und das war eine großen, wie eine Spiegel. So it was like a mirror, I said to her. And she said, okay. And ich war nicht, I wasn't afraid. Und ich habe das in mein Herz, I felt it in my heart. And it's like, I felt like I knew this. And she goes, okay. And she goes, and now how do you feel? And I said, I'm okay. And she goes, okay, well, let's go make some tea and let's have some cheese and crackers. And she just she held the space, but she never told my dad. She would never tell us. God forbid she'd tell him. I'm telling you, I have soul brothers and sisters. I got Jimmy's my soul brother. I got soul brothers and sisters out there. It's not that are not biological. They're amazing. So anyways, yes, I have had that. I have had, when I was filming Kung Fu, I was walking back to the trailer and there was a very bad vibe. It was because we were digging into some, Kung Fu wasn't like so weird though, right? Because that's the thing was so weird. You're digging on some stuff like whether it's acting.
I was gonna say there's that episode early in I think the first season, the third episode maybe, where there was UFOs, and I think Irene was the first one that contacted them and was just drained the whole episode.
For me, all that wasn't acting. I just kept quiet about it, right? And that's why when people, like, there are certain subject matters that in shows, right? Like it doesn't matter, like your body and your heart and your soul and life doesn't know that it's just, oh, it's acting. Like, you're opening up things, you know? It's like if you're having to talk about, like, let's say as an example, Marissa Hargitay on Special Victims, you know, it's like they're touching on some very deep things. And I mean, I can feel it palpable because I am a survivor and all that. And I think but what I've learned, fast forward, I can go into things now and I can bring myself out of it because I have the tools now, right? But back then, nobody taught you the tools. So there was sometimes on So Weird, I'm just going to say on So Weird, where I literally was hiding because you could feel lots of energy stuff around. FYI, when I came back from Kung Fu and I was walking to my trailer, I went back to set and the AD said to me, "What's up?" And I said, I'm not walking down that street. And he goes, "Well, what?" I said, "I'm not walking down that street." I said, it's bad. There's really bad energy. It's a bad vibe. I kept saying it's a bad vibe. And he said, "Oh, you're just exhausted." I said, "No. Like, I don't like when people do that. It's like they don't.
They dismiss.
It's one thing when it's like when I raise my daughter the best way I knew how or whatever. I mean, sometimes you're really not perfect because you don't know about being a mom. And one thing with her is that if anything happened to her, I believed her the first time. She didn't have to jump through hoops. If she got hurt or assault or anything would happen, I'd go, okay. Like, it bugs me when people do that, right? So he had to walk me to my trailer because I could feel. So on So Weird, that's why I believe that there was certain dark things that they were touching on. You know, you guys could tell me more about that and how it was for you. But I would have liked to see, and then the show stopped, I would have liked to see, it's kind of like when the pandemic happened, I felt like it was like a spiritual warfare. So it's like this, like we're cleaning a lot of things in life, right? Which is a good thing, right? And you've got to look at shadows, right? You have to. Like people that do all this false, oh yes, oh namaste, and let's just be positive. I'm like, no, we have to look at our shadows, right? I would have loved to see the development of that show in a enlightened, mature way about the shadows and all that stuff, and bring it into, here's an example. If there's addictions, there's a lot of shadows in addictions. And some people, some addicts, I mean, I have seen that they were, yes, okay, they're addicts. But I also believe that something was placed on them that really, it wasn't, it wasn't their fault, I'm just saying certain types, right? And so, so I have seen, yes, I have. And I work with crystals a lot. Look, this is a beautiful lapis lazuli I wore, especially for today. It's my high priestess one.
Ooh,
yeah, it's
pretty.
My jade. This is my mummy. My mummy designed this ring for me. I knew stuff happened around my mom and dad that was strange. And I feel it. So it's no mistake that I was on that show. I just wish that, because Irene was always like, oh my God, and right? We would have developed it where we can bring that in. We can bring a spiritual element in. And we can really delve into all that stuff. It would have been so cool. So you have the serious part of it. You have the humorous part of it. It's like E.T., I mean, I have E.T. up there. Like, here's my E.T. Hold on. E.T., I love you so much.
Love E.T.
I know, look at little E.T.
Cute. Do you have any keepsakes from So Weird?
You know what I do have? I was going to give it to, I have a keepsake, a CD player from Disney, which is from So Weird. And it's got for one CD. I'm really bothered that I had a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful leather bag from So Weird, because Larry Sugar, he's the one that bought us all really nice gifts. I'm just going to say sometimes Disney got us other little thingies, but he bought us some really nice stuff. And I gave that leather bag away, and here's the thing, and I would have definitely done a thing with, what I would have liked to do is give you guys the jacket, and then we could do like an auction type of thing. I had the So Weird leather jacket, and it was brilliant. And when my dear dad passed, certain people took my dad's clothes and got rid of them. And I gave that jacket to my dad. And so when I went to go look for it in the house, it was like cramped away, you know? Yeah. Because I wanted that jacket, because it's like what I did on Kung Fu, did this auction thing. And I took my, I wore this really cool lamb's coat, and I always had, Detective Jody Powell always had leather gloves on. And then I took, like, if you can see, I don't know if you can see on camera. So this is a Bible from 8 Below. Like, look, if you can, if I open it.
Oh yeah, you've taken pictures of this.
Yeah, remember? Yeah. So see all those, that's like, it's like what we had for So Weird. And what I did for Kung Fu is I took a Bible, we call it the Bible or whatever, not the Bible, but anyway. And I put 3 scripts in that, let's say if we would pick them from So Weird, and then we auctioned it. And this amazing woman from Australia, she, and everything went to cancer at that time, and she paid $1,000. She got my jacket, she got the leather gloves, she got all my notes on the scripts. Like, you know, there was funny things like, oh my God, I'm so tired today. I would write things like that, but she loved it. And she got it, and then she ends up sending me this beautiful fire opal from Australia, like as a gift. So I really like doing stuff like that. So I'm a bit bothered, like, okay, so I'm tearing things apart now and I'm throwing things away. But if I find anything, I'll hold on to it, okay? And maybe we could figure something out. But I'm really, really upset about those jackets. It was really upsetting, because that's part of when they passed, like a lot of things went wonky.
Well, the rest of the questions we have are from fans that sent them in. So many people kind of asked the questions of, if you remember, what's your favorite episode or favorite memories from set?
I'm not going to say favorite episode, because for me, I'm going to say the opposite, where there were some episodes where I was like, I'm a little bit scaredy of what we're talking about, right? I'm like, oh my God, right? So I kept my Irene thing in me, right? Mm-hmm. I loved, honestly, I loved every episode. I honestly did. I'll tell you the episode I really loved, and you guys have to remind me what the name of it was. When I got to do the
Carnival.
I did my own makeup, and I had my hair in like this up ponytail, and I got to do like this, like genie in a bottle dancing, and
like gypsy dancing.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it so
on the hot coals.
Yeah.
Dancing on the hot coals.
I know, beautiful. And I loved it so much that when we wrapped that day, I was like a little girl, like a little kid, like coming from dance recital. Like I wanted to keep my makeup on and stuff, right? And I wouldn't even let the makeup department do my makeup, because when I started touring in the 80s, I did all my own makeup, and I would paint these like all these gorgeous things on my face, and like do all these beautiful things, except the only thing I didn't know was when you sweat, like, how do you stop that from running down your face?
Right. But I think I don't know if it was you who shared a picture of, I think it was yourself on your chair.
Yeah, that's the one. I know. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I loved it so much. That was, it was Carnival.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Carnival had some freaky stuff in it.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
It was, and it's funny because all the crew guys, and like when we were filming it, it's like me getting to know each one of you. Like, okay, I found out that, Melissa loves poutine, and I'm gonna, like, if I hung out with Melissa, or I hung out with Jimmy, or I hung out with, Kathy, like we'd find more things about each other. So nobody knew I was a dancer. They just knew me as Irene and okay, acting and singing and this and that. But like I'm a full-on dancer and the full-on thing. And so John Cooksey, I remember John, because John knew, because John and Allie, like, you know, they were always like, so, and they loved like, you know, their daughter and my daughter would hang out, but they were always like, John would be like, wait a minute, let me get, he's funny, good, let me get this right. Like you started as a dancer, song and dance, and then you did ballet. We got to work in the ballet thing. I went, John, like, is Irene really going to be ballet dancing? Like, really?
Yeah, right.
Right. So when I danced, he was like, he loved it. But when I started to do like the whole thing and like, you know, I wish we had Instagram then. Oh my God. The crew, like their jaws were like this going, like, oh my God, like, did you know she danced like this? Like, oh my God, right? I did love that episode very much. I had so much fun. The other episode I loved because I got to wear a cowboy hat because I'm originally born in Alberta with my cowboy boots on and my cowboy hat. And so I was like,
That was
yeah, like
listen.
Listen, yeah.
Yeah, listen, I love that episode. The only thing is we were filming and it was a huge episode. I mean, there was like camera cranes and this and that, but I always made sure I got to, like, I liked what I was wearing and my cowboy boots and my cowboy hat and my suede. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Side note. I think I have Irene's suede jacket.
Wow.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah, that is so cool.
You know what? I do. I did not give it away. I have Irene's suede jacket. It's chocolate. It's like chocolate brown and it's got like the buttons down here. I even think that it says Irene in the inside.
Oh,
really?
cool.
Wow.
The other thing I have, because the last year of, well, we didn't know we were getting canceled, but wardrobe knew before we knew. And the gal in wardrobe, Kristen, she is now this yoga woman. I love her. Oh my God, I love her. And she said to me, okay, we're going shopping. And I went, Irene's got enough clothes. She says, yeah, well, you know, we're going to spend some Disney money. I'm just going to say.
Hey,
And I said, and we have this store here. I don't know if you guys have it in the US. It's called Aritzia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they used to take me to that store and I'd get all my pants and like jackets and I would go shopping with her. Right. And I said, well, why are we shopping? She goes, because we're going to spend money because I have a funny feeling that we're not coming back. I went, what? Whoa. No. Like, so, because she didn't really know. So she took me shopping and I have this gorgeous happening leather jacket. And Mia, I gave it to Mia on one thing. I said to Mia, because it says Irene in it. I said, you cannot thrift this. You can't thrift this. I'm giving it to you for you to wear, right? Okay. And you can wear it. But when you're done with it, you need to bring it back to me. So I might still have that, or she has that. The other thing I still might have is I have these incredible cowboy boots of Irene.
Oh.
Yeah.
And because I haven't worn any of my amazing clothes over these last couple of years, I'd be okay with like auctioning those cowboy boots, right? But back to the episode one. So I love the cowboy one, but here's about that show. We were on the stage and it was a massive outdoor stage, massive. And it was very hot that day. And I was on the stage. And so the camera's looking at me and I'm supposed to be looking at my artist. I'm supposed to be looking at Molly and she's doing her thing and she's like performing and there's a band on stage, right? I think I said this last time, but I'll just to bring it back in because they're asking this question. And I guess on the side of the stage, I was just like, because my face, I can't hide. That's why I can't lie. Like I can't hide stuff. And I was like looking at it and I guess I was looking at it like, yeah. And it wasn't about, it wasn't about her. It was that John might not like this, but I didn't really like the song. And it was something about math, or she sang a song about
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
New math.
That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. This
Oh
is
my
the
God.
new math. Yeah.
Oh.
Love it.
Okay,
Yeah.
and like, no dissing. Well, no dissing here, whatever, he wrote that. But I admit I didn't really hear the song until the day of filming.
Mhm.
So my face, and I had I had the suede jacket on. And I'm looking at the side of the stage going, what kind of freaking song is this? Like, and I'm looking at the musicians. They were like musician actors, except for Jeff, who became my writing partner, Jeff Neal. He's like a real happening. And I remember that day looking at him going, why are you on stage? Like he's like this tall 6'3" guy, like he's got this vibe and stuff like that. He's like, he's like a rock star. I'm thinking, okay. And I think he helped record that particular song, right? So he's like on stage that day. But my face, I didn't realize it. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to be listening to playback on this all day long. Because
I have to go find that scene now and see your facial expression.
okay,
I know.
because you know that my dream was, we talked about this. I'm a songwriter and I also love other songwriters, and I really thought it would have been amazing, because Larry Sugar did talk about that, but it would have been amazing that Irene and Molly, because as moms to mom and women to women and all this kind of stuff, we start writing together, like on the show. It would have been unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
And so I was looking at this, okay? And we did a lot of playback that day. I mean, it was like a lot. So Gary Harvey, who I love and adore, God bless him. He recovered from cancer in the mouth and stuff like that. You should see the artwork that he does. And he recovered. He was always been one of my favorite directors. He walks over to me, right? He's a shorter guy, and he goes, okay, so I can't film this, right? And I went, what am I doing? And he goes, well, like, you're looking at your pop star Molly, and you're supposed to be loving, you're like, you're the manager. And I went, okay, I'm listening to it. He goes, you're looking at her like you can't stand this song.
That obvious?
Yeah. And I went, well, and he says, and John, and everybody's in video village going, is she okay? I went, well, I don't really like the song. And it's like, she's on stage and like we're doing this amazing concert, and like I could think of a million amazing songs for her. And like Gary goes, okay, but that ain't gonna happen right now. What? Okay, so I'm sorry, I apologize, and I don't want to be like holding it up and stuff like that. He goes, he says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pretend that you're a detective, like you were in Kung Fu, and like you're looking there and you're just like, you're so proud that you got the bad guy. And I went, really? He goes, yeah, that'll work. And that's what I did. And so I'm like, oh, yeah, hey, oh yeah, great. And that's how we got it. But what was funny was they're filming it, and we finally get my face to be proper on camera. I mean, I bet you anything, if you watch it now, you'll have to let me know if you can see still a bit of funny stuff in my face, because now you see me, right? Because my face is very animated. But what happened was, Squatch, or Dave, he brought his beautiful little dog, and he kept the doggy in the trailer, and the trailers were far away. So they finally they're trying to get my face on the close-ups, and it's like major cranes and stuff, and all of a sudden they're like, and okay, quiet on set, all right, we're rolling, and action. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna I'm definitely going to give him a good face, right? Yeah, I'm looking, I'm going, oh, yeah. And all of a sudden you hear, you hear
Dave's
Gary,
dog.
yeah, you hear Gary going, whose effing dog is this? And he goes, cut. And my face, I was laughing. I'm sure because we have a lot of blooper reels. I love the blooper reels. My face was like laughing and red and tearing, and it was fantastic. And Dave, I think Dave, he always did that Dave face. He's over there, and then I was laughing like this, and I go, hey, don't tell him it's your dog, right? And then he goes, but he's so honest and he's so lovey-dovey. He goes, I'm sorry about that, everybody. I know it's not professional, and I'll just go shut my dog up. And Gary's like, what the? That episode was a very difficult episode. We had so many things like that happen. And the other one I liked was, I love the one where I was with Patrick Levy we talked about that on the boat. You know,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, gone fishing.
yeah, because Gone Fishing, I loved that episode. I loved all the scenes and stuff like that because I was because when we went out on that boat, I was literally scared and we just improvised. So when I'm eating that sandwich, when I'm saying, yeah, okay, like, and like, we're like, I told you that last time, like we were out in the middle of this ominous lake on a boat. There's no camera guys on another boat protecting us. They're like doing long lens or some wild Hollywood long lens thing and this and that. And Patrick's like paddling away. And I listen. I love Patrick Levy because he's very in tune and he's funny. He's really funny. I used to think he was like Donny Osmond a bit though. I loved
He
it.
played
Right?
Donny Osmond. Didn't he play Donny Osmond?
Did
I think he did in like an early film or something when he was a kid. Look, there's Pat as Donnie.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's so cool, huh?
God, yeah, he's a sweetheart. Yeah, and I love Patrick, but that day, because even his face, he'd be looking at me, you really are scared. And I'm like, let's get us out of here. So normally they would keep that in the bloopers, but they kept it on the episode, right? Because I was scared. I love that episode, but here's the sad thing about that episode. Terrible. Bring the boat back.
Really?
Well, no, here's what happened. We bring the boat back, and of course you're filming outside, right? So, raining and all that stuff. That day was when some Disney execs came on and said, oh yeah, so it's fantastic and so funny. And so, yeah, you're canceled. This is like, well, what? It was so weird to come on set like that. Oh, another episode I love. Last one was with Garwin. The one where Irene, we talked about that last time, where we're in the mine and Squatch Dave is like, oh, we're gonna do like camping and fishing, and I improvised on that one too. And I think
yeah.
right.
What was that one called? Simplicity.
I love Simplicity was one of my faves. And I mean, I was losing it that day too because it was cold and damp and all this stuff. That also was improvising because John was in Video Village and Allie and everybody, and I can't remember who directed that. You'll have to tell me. And Squatch was like, I didn't tell Squatch it was just I didn't even know I was going to do it. And he's like so cute, right? And he's like, okay, well, we're going to go fishing and we're going to go camping. And I mean, I'm in this beautiful trench coat, like, my hair is pulled up and I'm a music manager. Like, I don't have time for fishing, honey. And he's telling me this, and then I lost it, right? In the scene, and I just go, right? And I go back to him, and I go, I don't want to go fishing in Canada. And Squatch was just like, oh. And then John, I could hear him howl, and he comes back and he goes, yeah, we're keeping that. And he says, and I just want to check, are you okay? I went, yeah, I'm good. And he goes, yeah, so we're keeping that. But now what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do that every single take.
Oh,
So, yeah,
dang.
so it was fun. And that was a great thing about him and me, our relationship, because he was such a he was such a cutie pie, right? And Irene loved him, but she was just like, honey, like the best of sitcoms, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we could have played out more of that, right? Oh, and the Halloween one with Henry. I mean, anything with Henry was amazing. What was that one called?
Boo.
Yeah, I love that one.
Mm.
Because remember we talked about how they had to build the cell phone on my head. And I will tell you, when we filmed that episode though, I was scaredy because it was I think it was right around Halloween too. We filmed it. So there was a lot of, because I'm just, for me, again, no judgy. I don't like Halloween. I love like fairies and puppies and like things like that. And I love like magical things and I love all that. But the veil is very thin, right? During October 31st, right? And
Yep.
so if people use that in a bad way, a false way, weird stuff can happen, right? So that's part.
Yep.
And we were filming during that time, and I was just like, oh my God. I remember eating a lot of chocolate on set that day just to keep myself like, oh, I'm gonna eat more chocolate. Yeah, more. And there was another one, you guys have to tell me now, where there was a few that were on the bus that were really funny, where we were all sitting around and like kind of the paranoia stuff and like joking. And Irene was always trying to joke about it. And Molly was like, don't joke about it, right? Like it's funny stuff like that, right? I just think they canned it too soon. I wish I was thinking about it tonight when I was putting on my makeup for you guys or I was covering up myself. I had a visual and I saw Molly and Irene. Because let's face it, there's a lot of stuff that's out there, right? And great shows like what's a show that got canceled the other day? I was so upset. New Amsterdam. I mean, it is an amazing television show, amazing writing, and it's funny and it's dramatic and it's just, oh my God. Tyler Labine, who's originally from Canada, is in it. I adore him. I was so sad because it was such a great show. Like you never know why something is closed, right? And there's another Canadian series right now called Pretty Hard Cases. If you can find it, it's amazing. I would honestly, I would bring my own lunch and I would be on that show. I love that show. They're so talented and funny. But I just heard that they're going to be finished after 3 seasons. So I wrote on the thread, I said, that's ridiculous. You need to find a new network, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as so weird, I did get a visual today because we talked about that last time. We were starting to, all of us doing some creative stuff, how it would come back. Here's what you guys, tell me what you think. So we know the tour bus, right? So Irene turned the tour bus into a home and a studio. Okay. So she's living in there.
Okay.
Her oldest son would be, way old, and he's, I don't know, maybe he's in prison somewhere. We could build on that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we could build on it. He's in prison somewhere, and we'll figure out what happened. And then my younger son, Von Detten, who I love, and we actually find out that he's like, he's a daddy, and he's got like, 4 kids, and got an amazing wife, and he's doing, some organic product, or he's like,
Yeah.
I'd like to see Patrick have a spiritual element, like he's become this amazing spiritual not somebody that's going to take advantage of people, like something cool.
Right.
But Irene and Molly, so I decided to produce other artists, and I decided to, because I'm living on my own because my kids are gone, and we find out that Molly and Irene had a falling out, and it was really heartbreaking. And Molly's daughter is who? Kara, right?
Kara.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. V.
So we'd have to figure out some incredible story for her. But what happens is that somebody knocks on the door and it's Molly. And we open up the series with, I open it up, and it would be really amazing. I mean, something that, obviously Mac, you'd have to talk about that she would bring in her own life experiences with what she went through. And I could bring in some stuff. And I open the door and I just go, Molly. And we start there. And she goes, Irene, I don't know if I'm ready to talk with her, but we start together. And we start on the first episode. There could be flashbacks, right? Flashbacks, like done in a cool way, not in a weird way, right? So flashbacks and we find out, and we find each other, because we have a lot of pain with each other. We have a lot of heartache with each other and disappointment. And as we're like, she's not drinking, but Irene was never a drinker on the show type of thing, but you'd see the women we'd do flashbacks, and then they'd come back to us and we'd be talking about it and laughing. And then we'd be talking about some hard subject matters, which I believe in 2023 would be incredible. And we'd find out slowly why over episodes. And then we start talking about the kids, and maybe we find out that maybe her daughter went up. We'd have to recast the daughter and all that, but because they're older, went up in space and is doing something in regards to that. But she's maybe she's doing the paranormal stuff and all that. Like, she's become the person to study all the AI stuff and all the paranormal, but she kind of lost connection with Molly too. So the show could be about a healing and comedy and this, that, and that, and like maybe something like that could make it relevant now by bringing back. I mean, it really was ahead of its time, right? Maybe we could bring back different characters and things like that, right? But
that sounds amazing to have like modern reconnection. And I think paralleling, maybe like bringing in new actors of how Molly and Irene first met, when they were younger. I think like that parallel would be
fantastic.
So cool.
And not that you'd want to, because I know for a while some shows really did do that, and sometimes it was like too literal, when the pandemic happened and all that stuff. But we could just our life experiences and bring in things that everybody's talking about, and like we saw them years ago, the paranormal and the AI and the like the ETs and all the stuff, right? And then Molly finds out with Irene that Irene actually always had this deep spiritual, like there's things that Irene didn't tell anybody. And we start finding out that she had these things that happened to her, right? Like paranormal and all that kind of stuff, right? So it could be really cool, but they got to finance it, right?
Going to the next question. I feel like you've answered a lot of these already, so feel free to say we can go to the next one. But Amber talked about how she loves how Irene is so fierce in the show.
Yeah.
And Neural's asking, what was your favorite trait of Irene to portray?
Well, of course, the humor. And she has a big heart. And she cared a great deal. And even though she showed her frustration and stuff, underneath all those layers, she was like totally all heart, right? What's that scene, Jimmy or Melissa? I do love that one where I turn into what is that? Not a pumpkin, but a squash?
Yeah, butternut.
Okay, that episode, like when Irene walks into that scene, that trait, that day, something happened because who noticed it? It was my daughter. Because when it came out, my daughter went, Mom, she was laughing so much. And I said, why do you like this episode so much, Mia? I know when you drop me off at school, and you've met weird parents, and you know that the weird parents are a bunch of liars. And I went, That's true, right? And she just, and you know that day that woman, she was all cute and just nuts and stars. And Irene was looking at her going, you're like effing lying. You're
Exactly.
what are you doing? And again, like, I don't plan it. I remember her, the woman who played that, she played it even when cameras were not rolling. Like, she was so cute. And oh my God, I love you so much. And I remember thinking, I wonder if she really is that nice, right? So I guess
Right.
So that's what I loved with Irene and John. The more he saw that, and the more John realized that I was that, he just kept writing it in and giving me space to explore that, right? Because I don't know, I think like the greatest actors, like they bring themselves into it. And any actor that says, oh no, like I'm completely different, no, it's you bring yourself into it. And I mean, okay, here's an example. I read for a show before Christmas, and I can't say who it was for, but I can say this, the franchise, I was shocked when I saw the script, because this franchise is not the type of franchise that does these kind of stories. And the storyline was that someone kills my sister, and I know who did it. There was like 3 people involved, and they're in this law firm. And I am actually a very kind and amazing person, but I end up, because I couldn't deal with my grief and I couldn't deal with the trauma of the way that they murdered my sister, I end up setting up that one by one, these people, it looks like they're committing suicide. And I'm not a bad person, and so when I saw it, I went, oh wow, okay. But what I dug into was, I mean, I don't have I'm not a, what do you call, like, what's that word? Vengeful. Like, I'm not like that, and my dad died a wrongful death. So I dug into that. And I thought to myself, I thought about the people that were involved in that. So I was still me, bringing me into it. But would I do that in real life? No. I mean, I wouldn't put somebody on a chair and kick the chair and have them go like this, right? But I understood her. Do you know what I mean? Right? There's certain boundaries I have that I'll play anything. Like, I want to explore life, and I really do. And also tonight, when I got ready for you guys, what will be great about Molly and I coming together now is because there's so much, I don't believe in ageism of any type, young ageism, old age. I don't believe in it. But it would be great to see what we've lived through. And I was thinking in the shower tonight when I was getting ready that I would love roles now to come to me that I'm not necessarily looking great. You can see certain things I've been through, and bangs and this and all that kind of stuff. And I am wide open with stuff like that. Like, I love to play stuff like that. So when I submitted for that show, I got really down and dirty. And the way my hair was, and very little makeup and all that kind of stuff. And and I just was like, I love that kind of stuff. I would love to do more and more of that kind of stuff. The only thing where my boundary stops, I years ago was given a script, and I mean, hey, you gotta, you make a living, you're raising a kid, and you never know, like all of our work, you never know when the next gig comes, right? You don't know. So I've been getting those types of scripts where it's like really badass characters, and I love it. The only boundary, and I'll end it at this, is that years ago I got a script where she was a female predator, a female pedophile, because we don't normally, especially way back when, there weren't those stories, but let's face it, there's lots of that stuff out there. And I needed the gig too. I mean, I needed the gig, but I just went, I can't do this. And like my agent at the time was mad at me. He's like, this is acting. And I'm like, you're not the one on set. You're not the one that has to live this. And I don't want to be. And she was a pedophile to her son. Ugh. No. I just went, and like I said, like I needed the gig, but I just went, no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can do a whole bunch of other stuff. Like give me I've done tons of gun work. I've done tons of stunt work. I used to be afraid of guns. I don't like guns. Listen, I said that last time with you guys, I don't like them, but I know how to, appropriately work with them and this and that. And like, man, like if I mean, I can say it now because it's not out yet, but I got another one sent to me where I play like a special crimes investigator for financial crimes. And I know all about financial crimes because I got a bunch of stuff taken from me. So yeah, let's do this, right? But that one didn't come to fruition because it came down to my height.
Oh wow.
It's so disappointing.
I was gonna say when you're talking about those like Molly and Irene, like as their age now, right? I was gonna say in So Weird, you were Irene was the very grounded person for Molly.
Yeah.
And like my two favorite scenes of Irene's are in that one called Medium, where Molly's hearing a lot of her old husband's voices kind of come back.
Okay.
And do you remember that? And
keep telling me.
They're trying to record a new song, and Molly keeps saying like, "This isn't right. This isn't right."
Yes.
And Irene's like, "What's going on? What's the problem?" It was just like Molly was experiencing grief because they were back recording again, and she's hearing her widow's voices in her head.
You know what? I totally remember now. Because naturally I am an empath and I am a compassionate soul, which is where you got to learn discernment. Because I remember now, I'm so glad you reminded me of that. That was a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember those grounded moments of like Irene being grounded there for Molly on that episode. And then like one of the last episodes of season 2 where Molly was experiencing some grief too and wanted to quit the band or quit the tour.
Oh.
And then Irene comes to save the day because the band's like, what about the guitarist? What about the drummer? Like, what's going on? We need the money to, for touring.
Oh my God.
And Irene's like, oh, I got it figured out. You guys are going to record a CD. And Molly's just like, thank you for figuring all that out because she had just quit everything. So I just thought like, you're very grounded for
you know
Molly,
what's
Irene.
amazing about that you just reminded me? I'm so glad you're doing this because I know what that feels like in life. And that's why, like I said, like I was building 3 projects and then of course my mom passed, my dad passed, and all kinds of stuff happened. So those projects, well, Jimmy knows this, but they're sitting in a can, right? And I really want to put them out there, not because of, oh, look at me. Not, I want to share them because it's some of the most deepest writing I have done. And I know that's what we love about each other, where you share stuff with me and I go, man, I'm so touched by that. And that's why when I watch really good shows, I'm so touched by it. Like, I'm also a fan. I'm also all of that, right? And I think that it's important to keep real that way, right? We could start, now that you've reminded me, we could start on that. That's how we bring the show back with Molly and Irene.
Yeah, okay, as a kid, my favorite part of the show was, all the fun paranormal stuff that happened, but as an adult, my favorite part of the show is the friendship between Molly and Irene.
See? You know what? And I feel that because of life stuff that happened then and this and that, that's what I wanted that more. I wanted to build on that so much more. And in the next 2 seasons, I think it would be, especially now, it would be so fantastic.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Henry would be on board, but you know, because he does that great show Barry, but he's another amazing person where he could be coming back into it as well. And I don't know, now that you've said that, it was one of the most disappointing things that we couldn't develop that more, and that's when we got canceled. Because it was like the kids, right? The band, the this and that, and then they would put, and when that moment happened, I remember saying to Larry Sugar, I said to him that day, why can't we develop our friendship more? And also, I think as real life people, it would really help us connect more. It would be great. And he was the one that day that said, well, why don't we do a thing where we find out that you like writing and you share it with her? And I said, nah, I think it's a bit too soon for that. Because there was a lot of stuff on set that was, as I told you, that was happening. And I said, well, I don't know, it's a bit too. And then they brought on Alex, right? Alex was cute, 15-year-old coming on the show. But I remember that day when we filmed it, and I was in the audience with my husband, right? And we were watching her, and I was supposed to be watching, like Molly was there, right? And Mac did not have to cry that day. I mean, she didn't have to act then. Like, being real, you don't act, you know, people that act. I mean, you got to deep go in your emotions and, you know, feel safe to just let it out, right? And I could feel from her that day. I don't know. I always wanted to ask her this. Her and I should really talk again that way about this. I always felt like she was sad that day, like that feeling of, oh, here's a new girl coming in. She's a 15-year-old girl.
Right.
So what happens to Molly's character? And I'm gonna say it almost had a feeling that day, because I always wanted to ask this. It had a feeling that day, which they could have elevated on if we would have gone the next, like, because we were signed for 5 years originally, because Henry always wanted to do 100 episodes. He believed in it so much. It had a feeling that day of great disappointment, and it had a feeling that day of like being kind of put out to pasture. You know, it's like that feeling like in a life and in oh, well, we got somebody new coming in. Oh, well, yeah, you know that feeling, right? You're kind of like, well, wait a minute, like my single from the 80s, like, what about me? Like, wait a minute, what about me? Why don't you take me as I am?
Yep.
Like, and I felt that day on set. I really did. And she did a lot with Alex's character, right? And Alex's character was great. But I kind of wondered, you know?
Yeah. With the next question, Joe first wants to say he loves your 80s album.
You mean this one?
That one.
Yeah.
What
Love it.
about me?
You know what? Oh yeah, keep going, Melissa.
And his questions are, what did you think of the music on the show? And did you ever want to sing to perhaps an Irene and Molly karaoke night? And also adding to that, if Molly and Irene did go to karaoke, which song would they sing?
Oh, okay.
Music question.
Oh boy. Well, like I said, this is for Joe. Well, we know how I felt about some of the music, Joe. Some of the music I don't know, I didn't resonate with. And they're going to be like, dun, 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 dun. All the fans are going to be like, oh, Irene, did she really say that? But I wanted to see, you know what? Here's what it is, like that new math thing and all that. I felt that for Molly's character, some of the songs she did were really good because it resonated with her. But I felt some of the songs that she was having to perform were not really who she was as an artist. So it's kind of like, I went through this in the music industry where you're like, you know, you want to do a certain type of album, right? You want to do a certain type of thing, and they just go, no, the record company who's paying for it, blah, blah. No, you have to do it this way, and you got it. That's why now, I mean, you know, artists took back their power, right?
Yeah, that's
Right.
the way Taylor Swift is and doing what she's doing.
Exactly, right. And now, I mean, you can put out a single and in a lot of ways, which is what I always wanted. I used to talk about it all the time in the 80s, and I would say that the audience in our lives, I'm an audience member too. I mean,
Yeah.
the audiences matter because they're going, whoa, I really love that. And you sometimes get record company people that you wonder why they're even in music. I mean, I've seen it a million times. Okay. A million.
Mhm.
You're kind of going, you know, and of course, as a fan, like let's say us here, right? We're watching a show and we see new math and we think, oh, you know, maybe some people really liked that particular song. I didn't. There was something about it that day. I just thought, oh my God, we've got this incredible opportunity. My artist, Molly, is on stage. I imagined her doing this phenomenal song, right? Just this like where we could then, you know, the series Nashville, right? They did amazing.
Mhm.
They did amazing music on that series where we do such an amazing song that day where then you release it as a single. And like
Mhm.
then we have like the So Weird album. You know,
Mm.
A
that's what I
A
was
dream.
dream.
right? So that's what I was kind of thinking. So with Joe, you could, I mean, some of the music I really liked. Like I loved when she did her acoustic stuff and she did, I remember, God, I'm getting flashbacks now. Like definitely my brain is clear and that I'm seeing us in a bar where she's doing like this real rocker thing, and I really liked that a lot. That was really cool. I would have probably us going another 2 years. I think Mac would have felt the same way. I do think because she's pretty savvy with music, and you know, I mean, she comes from music and all that. I think we would have had to up level the music, and I think she would have loved that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And bringing Alex's character on, there was that music, which was good. You can't forget about a character like Molly. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at
Right.
you look at the television series in Nashville, you know, you've got Connie Britton, her character, right, who I love, but and you've got the younger, you know, singers coming in, and you got all that stuff. Okay, that's all part of the storylines, and people, you know, saying, oh well, many times in her storyline, oh well, you know, she's done and this and that, but then she'd come back out, and I find that, I don't know, of any age, I find that more interesting. I mean, I remember when I was younger, like looking at like, you know, like Marlena Dietrich and like, you know, these older singers going, oh my God, they're so phenomenal, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes a show interesting. So I believe that we would have had to really have a much season 4 and 5, we would have had to really elevated it. And here's the thing. The fans of So Weird are not stupid fans. They're not dumb fans. They're not like, don't water down the show. They
Right.
would have they would have went, yes, because they're super smart and they're very like awakened, and it would have like, you know how some shows water it down because they think
Yeah.
nobody's gonna get that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, actually we are gonna get it, you know.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So specifically the songs I can't exactly say, but there was, I put it to you this way, there was some good music in it, and then we had our guest stars, right, Melissa? We had like, you know, like Bo Diddley, and we had some really
All
cool,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Dionne Warwick.
yeah. And
She was a guest star.
yeah, what was weird about that one is that when I was 18, I was doing a gig and it was called The Palace. It was a big television show called The Palace with Jack something or another, and they filmed it live off the floor. It was, you know, all over the world. And I was I was auditioning. I wanted to get a gig, and I couldn't get many gigs as a dancer because back then I there was not a lot of tall dancers, and with shoes on I was like 5'10" and then some, right? But I got this gig, and we got to perform with this like live orchestra. It was phenomenal. But the artist that day that was coming on, there was Diane Carroll. I remember Doc Severinsen from the Johnny Carson show, but it was Dionne Warwick. And I was like, and I was a gypsy. I was a dancer gypsy. And I was like, so I hid on the rehearsals, and I hid in the chairs, and like Dionne Warwick comes on. And I swear to God, she was like this. She's like, and big orchestra. She's like, okay, all right. I don't like what you're playing. And then she would go, I know I never love this way again. And you know what? If you play that one more time, get off my stage, right? And she was hilarious. And she was just like smoking the smoke and hitting. I was just going, and I remember staring at her going, whoa. She does not take any prisoners, man. She was just like, so when she came on the show, I was like, I think I'm just gonna let her do her thing. Like when you need me, I'll come in. And yeah, so that part of the show, I think, was so ahead of its time. Like you're bringing in like Dionne Warwick and Bo Diddley, and so wouldn't it have been great that Molly's character was getting better material and expanding on that?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do think that we should have gone to Nashville, because of course I love it. I think, we should have brought that in there too. But that's when we reboot the series, right? So what other
that's the next question about the reboot. Or not the reboot, but the season 3.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Intangible Rice asked, how were you and the other actors told about the shift in the direction of the show for season 3? For example, Kara leaving, Alex joining, lighter themes, and how did you react to it?
I hid in my trailer. I was like, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
There was things going on that, like I said, I was like, what is like to your question, Melissa, to what was it, Intangible Rice? They asked that. That's a great name.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Jimmy and Melissa and Kathy and Belinda with Intangible Rice.
Perfect.
It's like a new Motown thing. You know what? Again, there was so much strange things going on. I was like, what do you mean Kara's leaving? What do you mean this is like, okay, like, and I always knew, I mean, Irene's character, she's not going anywhere because she's keeping it all together. She's a manager, right?
Right.
Then when all this, excuse my language, shit was happening outside of filming and all this other stuff was going down, I'm going, oh, yeah. Something's going on, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, when you watch a television show where one of your greatest characters, like, all of a sudden gets offed on the show and you're just like, oh my God, like, how could they do that?
Right.
And that's why I don't like to listen to stuff that goes on out there, because I want to be in the show. Like, I want to watch it. And then you find out that the guy was like fired, or, or he like,
right.
He's like, right. He's like some contract issue, or, you know what I mean? Like something dumb like that, or he's just like, or worse, like what happened.
Yeah.
What happened to Chris Noth? He gets fired off of Queen Latifah's show, and we find out why he gets fired, right? Which didn't surprise me because I've worked with him. Anyway, I survived that. So yeah, Melissa, I mean, back to Intangible Rice. So you know what? You pivot like in life. It's like one of those things going, okay, like I'm raising a kid. I myself just wanted to go to work every day. I admit I was a bit worried because I didn't want the show to get stopped because we had 2 years on our contract, and all I was thinking of how I could, I admit, how I could take care of me and my daughter.
Yeah.
And also when you're on a job, right? When you have a solid job, you're like, okay, like this could help me that way, but then it could help me for the next part and the next part, right?
Yeah.
And so I was getting a little bit concerned about that because I never took it for granted. I loved it. I was like so happy. I love going to work. Even when I was tired, and I mean I I had, you know, my daughter, and I mean even when I clocked an 80-hour week, you'd never hear me complain about being, yeah, I was exhausted, but you never hear me and people that complain all the time, like, you know, like in Vancouver, there's a big service industry here, like a lot of crew people and all that stuff. And the other day, someone was complaining, oh, I'm so tired. And I was just like, I said, you know, I actually don't really want to hear about that because, you know, like you're so lucky that you get a gig for like 75 hours a week when myself as an actor, you know, there's so many elements involved, and they just go from show to show to show to show. So I don't want to hear it.
Right.
You know, or people that have I mean, okay, listen, nobody should be abused. Nobody should. But any kind of job, or, you know, like then don't do it. Like stop complaining, right? Like, I mean, we all have had jobs, right, in our lives where we're not getting treated well, and we're allowed to say, you know what, I don't really feel happy today. You know, we're allowed to be honest. So back to Intangible Rice, and the question, Melissa, is that I was getting a bit worried. I myself am okay with pivoting, like, now that I've said that. Shocking changes are never easy. And when we got the shocking change on it, I was really upset. I'm not good, I admit. I mean, I can rise like a phoenix, and I can be resilient and strong and all that, but I don't like shocking changes. I don't know if any human being likes that. Some people like, oh yeah, change. I don't know. I like to have a foundation, and then, you know, so I was worried, I admit, because I was thinking, okay. And the other thing is, like, they brought on Alex, which was good. But what did that mean then? Like, what were we not getting told? We weren't being told certain things, you know? And from John and from everybody that was writing it and stuff, you didn't always know really what was going on, right? It's kind of like, I'm going to say something really controversial right now. It's kind of like the government. You never know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah, like that, right? They go on, you know, they do their like media. Yeah, today, this and this and this. Yeah, I did this and that. And sometimes I don't watch a lot of news, but sometimes, like, and I'm not going to say who it is because we don't want that. But the other day I watched a particular person in the US, and he's talking, and he's got his black glass. Like, yeah, well, you know, I mean, I did the right thing and we shot it down. And I'm looking at it, and for me, it's a character study. And I look at that and I go, you're lying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know someone who was a regular starring character in a show, and I believe he said that he didn't even get the scripts till like a week or so before filming, sometimes right up until filming. And
Well, yeah.
I hear that a lot.
And it's even more so now. Like when I get something sent to me, they, what do you call, watermark it?
Yeah.
Put your name on it and all that kind of stuff. And back then I was too busy working and taking care of my daughter and life and stuff. I would never talk about what we were doing out there. I like the privacy, right?
Yeah.
And now with social media and all that kind of stuff, I mean, I'm not going to say who it is. There's a really big show on right now, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And everybody has to sign NDAs, and you're not, I mean, it is like I tell you, it's a big deal. If you leak something, they're gonna be
Yeah.
like, hi, Melissa, like you just leaked something, so get out. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're gonna be the next episode throwing you off the building. So
Yeah.
so
Then you
just
can wait
so-
for our lawyer.
Yeah, and could you
Yeah.
kind of clean up your trailer before we throw you off the building? Because we got someone else coming in, But
Yeah.
but like even with this animated show that I'm doing, which I can't say what it is yet, there is no way I would talk about what's in those episodes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I
Oh,
admit
yeah.
between us here, and you can keep this on too. I'm like chomping at the bit, like I wanna share, because it also, I'm just gonna say, it also does help sometimes when you're sharing to help you attract other work, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's-
right. Yeah.
there's that element, right? So you've got producers, directors, showrunners, you've got all these people, right? And they're working so hard. There's a lot of competition out there, let's face it. There's lots of shows, right? And they're working so hard to bring something so good into people's lives and living rooms and all this.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want that to be diminished by talking about it.
We do have a question here, and I kind of want to make it a double part because while you've been talking, I've been taking some notes, but it specifically asks, if you could write one episode, what would it be about? But I'm going to share my notes with you about that reboot. So Belinda is living in the bus, right? And the reason why she's living in the bus is because Molly has kind of fallen off the bandwagon. She relapsed into drinking.
Yeah.
And so, but then Ned is having health problems. So he's retired. He can't be on the road anymore. But
Oh my God.
you are producing for younger artists. And namely, I was thinking it would be like a younger artist could be like Patrick's kid or Annie's kid. And I have here that Fee ends up, in the last episode she was in, she ended up saying a spell that made her kind of lose the power of being able to see the paranormal. So like maybe she's cleaning up. Yeah, there's a spell book that is in the storyline, and she cancels
She like
her
severs
power.
that part.
And that's how she walks away in the storyline. But what if she's like meddling through the attic or something, and she finds that spell book and realizes, like she starts having flashbacks of like, oh yeah, there's ghosts and things.
Which character would find it in the attic?
Well, it could be a child of hers, and maybe that is what brings it to her attention, or the child like maybe opens up the paranormal vision for themselves, or Fee would find it. But then I was thinking, just kind of as a joke here, that you're doing your best to make ends meet because yours and Ned's finances have pretty much been depleted since Molly took off. So you're trying to like, nurture new artists, but
Thanks.
yeah, but you're also the breadwinner now. So, Ned can't work. And then you guys paid a lot of money for Carrie to go to college and drop out. And then you paid a lot of money for Clue. But then Carrie ends up in prison and Clue ends up a college professor. I just thought that was funny. Those are like my notes. Oh, and then Jack could be
I
like,
love it.
it all comes to mind. But then Jack is like a Christian artist, and now he's on his own tour, which would be something we wouldn't expect him to be a singer, but maybe he becomes the next.
Wait a minute, stop right there. Great idea. And not just a Christian artist, but a Christian artist in country. Like country Christian artist. And back to Melissa, because she asked me about poutine, because you're talking about Irene. Let's put this in there. Irene is also selling all her, she turned this bus into this fabulous home and this fabulous recording studio inside and this, that, and that. but on the weekends, she also pulls it up into like farmers markets, and she's selling all her sauces and stuff. And she is mixing all these potions to make people be nicer. And there's some potions in there that you're not supposed to be mixing. So we could bring that back in.
Oh, and it'd be interesting because Irene was always like super skeptical, but then what if like during the reboot, she's super in touch with her spiritual side, and like
That's what I'm
now she kind
saying.
of has like, yeah, like her third eye is open, like, which is something also that the fans wouldn't expect for
Oh
her
my God, I think it
character,
would be
you know?
amazing. And then I'm like, look at, I've got all my crystals. She's full on the crystals. Let's go back to what you said about Ned. Is he unwell? Is that what you're saying?
The way I see it in my head is kind of like maybe there's a scene where one of the main characters has to go visit him, and like he's at home, he's in like boxers and a greasy t-shirt, his beard's kind of grown out, he's getting older, he's bad health, him and Irene are estranged after
I was going to ask you, are we
Carrie
divorced?
went to maybe you're just separated after Carrie went to prison. Like it just caused a lot of issues, and
Caused a lot of
find out
tension.
Let's find out that Irene is gay.
ooh, yeah. Or what if Irene starts to realize she's in love with Molly,
That's what
and
I'm saying.
maybe that was a part of why they were estranged. But I like the scene of like Molly coming and knocking on the old Molly Phillips tour bus, and then Irene opens the door like, you,
Yeah.
like, or what are you doing here? It's been 5 years or 15 years, or whatever.
And it's
I
kind of
think
like,
they could do amazing stuff.
yeah, and I love what you're saying, because it's kind of like when I say like bisexual, where it's like, if that, I would maybe wonder if she is best friends with Ned still, though. They're good friends, but he's like, I don't want to be estranged from Ned.
You don't have to be.
What is that actress that played the nanny who
yeah, Fran Drescher.
she divorced? Was it divorce because her husband was gay, but they remained best friends?
They had Will and Grace was like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Like that. I kind of would like to have, so she's not a hateful bisexual, like she's like,
yeah.
Like, I don't want to be like, oh fuck you, Ned. Like,
but maybe like the love of like caring for Clue still keeps everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
maybe
love that.
Like, but you would be the breadwinner, so basically you and Ned are just maybe don't really connect as much, but you still take care of him, but he's like in bad health and he lives at home, and you kind of realized that you've been in love with Molly the entire time, and like maybe you had a falling out with her, and so maybe you have a few flings and you just live on the bus and you're kind of a bohemian that sells sauces on the weekend. But maybe Clue's the one who keeps super in touch with his dad, and Clue is always coming to you like, Mom, you got to go check on Dad and like just see how he's doing. And then we'll just have like a sideways mention of like,
I like that idea, like where she goes check on him. And he's
and maybe there's some intimate emotional scenes of her, like, maybe trying to get him to love her, but maybe he's so hurt because he caught you kissing a woman, or like, I don't know, it could go a million great ways.
You know what, that's where when she knocks on the door and she sees Irene, I think in that first episode, and taking on your idea, we find out that when everything fell apart and it crumbled, Irene was left with all the financial strain and like what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But then what she was left with all that, Molly didn't really know, because as a manager, Irene would keep certain things from her, and and she tried to do the best she could to save certain things. But when they finally talk, there's a moment where Irene gets really angry with her until we have this beautiful coming together and say, do you actually have any idea the stuff that I was trying to keep together for us? And like, do you have to understand that everything I had to sell off, everything I had to do, so that money that you needed in rehab and that everything that you needed and you didn't know where that came from, that's where it came from. And I decided that that was more important, and I forfeited my whole existence. But then we find out that Irene is actually, because of that, thriving. Like she's actually has successful artists. She has successful, like these potions, these like it's because of Melissa's shirt, Sauce Ho. It's like these, and I've seen that, like these potions that she's putting out there, you know, maybe there's something in that book where we found out there's something about those potions that people love it so much that they, every time they eat it or drink it, they buy more stuff, and they just, it's not that she's manipulating them, but she's like, they're like loving it. There's like, it's like ayahuasca, or what do you call it stuff? Ayahuasca, like, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like they're having these like awakenings, right? And then she's thriving because of that, right? And oh my God, can you imagine the writing?
Oh, it would be so good. And I was just
I kind of
thinking,
like that idea you said now about Ned, that he's okay. Now I see it. Yeah.
it just creates more drama. But then what if the scene when she knocks on the door and she sees you on the bus, that's a flashback scene where maybe that's when you were struggling, but now you're like this huge exec, but you know, like you started your own label and now you have all these successful artists. But we could have flashback scenes of like that falling out with Molly and you guys coming back together and seeing each other. That's when you're living on the bus. And maybe you self-made yourself, you're huge, and like now she really needs your help, but she's been to rehab 11 times, you know.
I love that. And she hears that, oh, I hear through the grapevine that, you know, Irene's living on like on a bus, but she doesn't realize once she gets there, it's like one of those hip and happening Nashville kind of, you got the studio in there and she's got her own bedroom and everything's kind of really cool. And like, you can see Molly going, whoa, what happened to the bus? Like what the...
That would be
I
so
think
cool.
also like adding like the humorous side to it is, I don't know if you remember in the last season, Clue, he was in college studying philosophy.
Oh yeah.
So he was, you know, he had that kind of like surfer, stoner vibe, philosophy, these existential questions. And I feel like he could match this new Irene, this new side of Irene's, like that spiritual side. I feel like maybe that'll make their relationship deeper and kind of funny too.
Why don't we find out? You just, that's a great idea. What would you guys think what if we find out that, because he was always like, hey, like you say that, but we find out that he's like also like the, what's the guy? I love him so much. He's married to, oh my God, I saw him on TV the other day, and he's got this big tech company. He's a big CEO of a tech company. Shoot. And his
Ashton
wife.
Kutcher?
Yeah. Yeah. And we find out that Clue, he created something. So but he's very quiet about it. Like he doesn't show off. He's got this like massive company happening so that when Irene is doing her artists and stuff, like he's somehow his company helps them get out there, and which comes to relevancy in 2023, right? Right. But she keeps it low key on that. Nobody knows on the outside of that bus what's really going on, because she doesn't like companies, and she's like big companies that pissed her off, right? So she's like her own company, right?
Fed up with the business.
Let's go. What happens to my older son now? He's in prison. What's he in prison for?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, in the show he lied to his parents that he dropped out of college, and the parents are like, oh, Ned was like, oh, spending so much money on his college. He was lying to become a guitarist, and maybe that just failed, or he got into a
like he's a
bad
scam
situations as a musician, you know, the wrong path as a musician.
Well, there was a dropped episode where he was an addict as well. So what if he became like a drug dealer and he just like went down the wrong path, met up with the wrong people that turned him out, you know?
And the back to your idea about estranged, Irene is very estranged from him.
Oh, definitely. You refuse to collect calls, so no, I'm just kidding.
But what would be interesting as the series goes on, of all people, it's Molly that says, I'll come with you and I go, You know, and I think it would be great because I've seen it in television shows, the ones that I love. New Amsterdam did that. Their writing was amazing, where it's like, listen, just because he's a son doesn't mean I don't want to talk to him anymore. You know, like that whole biological thing, right? It's like, you know, just because I have a brother doesn't mean like biological or not. I mean, you know, when you go through abuse, you go through like abuse is abuse, right? And this whole thing, like, oh, it's just family. And I always say this, and I mean, my daughter knows this. I just go, yeah, family's only good unless it's good. So, and we make our own family. Like right now, I feel like I'm in family right here, right? Like
That's
you
how
make
I've
your own,
always felt.
yeah, you make your own family, and then the biological ones that are good, obviously you keep them together. And the other ones that hurt you so bad, clearly in this lifetime there was something you had to learn from it. But you know, maybe there can be a that could be heavy drama. Holy God, can you imagine?
Oh yeah.
I wonder who we would have to, because I don't think is he acting anymore?
Yeah. Well, he is, but he's kind of off the radar. I mean, his sister is Blake Lively, and you know, his brother-in-law Ryan Reynolds.
I love her and Ryan together.
Yeah, they're so adorable.
I feel like Ryan Reynolds, because I know this in person, because when he was dating Alanis Morissette, I was in Whole Foods here in Kitsilano, and Amelia was younger, and we were in a lineup, and Mia was like, Mommy, there's Alanis Morissette. And I'm like, oh, and you know, to me, everybody matters. Like, just because you're, you know, the real good people in the world, like, you know, like it's like what my favorite guy from Coldplay. I mean, I love him, Chris. He's so down to earth. Like people, you don't have to be an ass, but and Mia goes, I want to go, and she went right up to her. She goes, hi, Alanis. I really like your music, and I like everything that you're doing, and I want to just know if I could sing with you. Like she was so sweet. And I'm sorry to say this, Alanis, so you know, maybe she's having a bad moment. She just looked at me like kind of like, don't bug me. It was a bad moment, but it was Ryan Reynolds that went around her and went towards me and said, oh my God, like you are so cute. And I said, yeah. And I went, sorry, she's like, you know, bugging. He's no. He says, like, so you like singing? She goes, yeah, I really like, she was really loud. I love singing. And what are you buying for groceries, right? And he just adored Amelia. And I remember thinking that day, I'm not going to tell my daughter because she was younger, but I remember inside thinking, he's a really nice guy. Like he's a genuine, what you see him now, what you see you get.
Yeah.
But question, what would happen to Kara? Oh yeah, we talked about Kara. She could be in the space program with the she could be with the Russians. No, let's not bring that in there. But it might be that she's in the space and we talked about Patrick. It'd be nice to bring what characters would we bring back?
Definitely the main cast. Definitely I don't think Kara would come back either, just she's not acting anymore.
But what we could do is you would be casting, because it'd be like years later. So we'd have to recast her as an older person, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Could, yeah.
Suffice it to say that I always was very nice to her. I was very kind to her. I even invited her to my place, and I invited her mom. And when my mom was in town, my mom and me and Kara and her mom, we had dinner. And back to Melissa, when you asked about the pivoting, I can tell you this. So I would have her for dinner, and my mom was really super intuitive. And Mia was there and stuff like that. And that I remember that day my mom said to me in Austrian, I said, you know, it's really nice to be able to get to know people you're working with and stuff. And my mom said to me, you know, just Vorsicht. And what that means is just be careful. And I never could understand why my mom said that. Everything pivoted in season 3 and things are happening in the background. All of a sudden, I felt like when I would come into the makeup trailer, I was concerned to come into the makeup trailer because of things that had started to happen, and I was really uncomfortable with things that were going on, because I just wanted to be in the makeup trailer, get ready and go to work. So it was already starting to seep into our work on set, and I don't like that. Like you're jeopardizing my job, you know? I don't like it. Like, man, like, excuse my language, but take your shit somewhere else. And it's just like, it's too bad, right? And that's all I'll say on that. But because we had so much fun and we had so many laughs. Oh my God, we laughed so much on set. And
Do you keep in touch with any of the cast members from So Weird? And what was it like working with the So Weird cast? I know you've talked a lot about that, but do you still keep in touch with anyone to this day? I know you and Alex follow each other, and
well,
you
now,
and Dave.
Dave,
And
yeah, I mean, Dave, God, I love him. Because I told you that story about where he was like, he met Lisa, right? His wife now. And
she's so sweet. Yeah.
I know. And he wasn't going to marry her. I think I told you that. And he came into the trailer and he goes, yeah, she's really nice. And I remember I looked at him, I said, you know that I really love you and I really like you. He goes, well, I know that. I said, yeah, but I don't like you anymore now. He goes, what? I said, I don't like you anymore. I said, because here's the thing. Just because you were married, just because you did this, just because you did that, you didn't do any of that with Lisa. And she's really nice. And I think you should marry her. And he's like, okay, I'm going to marry her. And that is, we have this running joke because I'm his TV wife and he has such a happy life, right? So yes, I keep in touch with him. He has never forgotten my birthday. He's so loving. And I believe that in a way, when I was going through some really tough stuff the last, 4 years, he'd be that kind of person that if I had opened up to him, he would have come right by my side. He would have been bringing me soup and checking on me, and just a loving person. And then there's with Alex and I, as you know, I shared that. She came to me and apologized, and and now it's good. She has a happy life. She has a beautiful husband. She's got those cute little kids. How interesting is this? Is that she's doing, as a recording artist, she's doing it all on her own, right? She really is. She's really doing that independent artist thing, which is kind of like back to the character of Irene, where Irene is doing all this stuff with artists. So Alex's character, she'd come back on a reboot as a recording artist because she played a recording artist on Instant Star, right? And one of the things that happened on Instant Star that was, not good, is that they wanted to tour the show as her being her character, and she said no. And it really upset Steven's wife, right? But everything's okay with them. Everything's copacetic now. It's all good. So now, I send her messages all the time. And as far as anybody else, I was thinking the other day of reaching out to Patrick because I love Patrick. For a while there, him and I stayed in touch all the time. And then as far as Mac, I will say for the longest time, we did not talk because, I will be honest with you, is I didn't want to talk to her because I admit I was disappointed. But then, she talked to Allie and said to Allie, she reached out to Allie and was making a message. She says, I would really like to talk to Belinda. And now I'd love to talk to her. Like, I could see us, like I said, in a cafe. And if I told her, I would tell her what I just went through the last 7 years, because she's a recovering addict, she would be the most compassionate and go, oh my God, I can't believe that you've gone through this. Because of course, person that did all that to me, he's still an addict. He's like, he's got so many enablers around him. It's not funny, right? So I think it would be seamless. I'd love to see her, right? I think it would be fantastic at this point in our lives, right?
Yeah.
And
Would
as far
you?
as Eric Von Detten, I mean, oh my God, if I saw Eric Von Detten, I would just give him the biggest hug because I love him.
Mhm. Him and Patrick just saw each other. They had a little
No,
reunion.
they
Yeah, I
did.
think he posted a picture.
I
We'll send you the
literally,
picture.
I,
We'll
I
send
Yeah,
it
would,
to you.
yeah.
I would cry. I would cry so much to see Patrick and Eric Von Detten because I love them. Like I mean that genuinely. And Patrick's character had to stay a bit from me in the show, but after we connected also. I know he's religious, but I'm very spiritual. So I don't know, we always connected that way. He was always really loving and he loved my daughter and the whole thing. Oh my God, I'd love to see him and Eric Von Detten. Kara, no, Kara's like you say, she's gone. She's somewhere. Alex, yeah. And then of course, let's all the guys that were like Gar and all the other guys that were on the show. I'm in touch with all of them. Chris Gibson and because
Oh
he
yeah, Chris
he
Gibson.
went through terrible health stuff. And I always send him good messages. So yeah, so that kind of thing, right?
Oh, okay. They want to know your reaction to So Weird ending, which I think you've touched on, but maybe just a couple sentiments.
Well, it sucked.
Yeah, it sucked.
I mean, it really sucked. And you don't know. It's like I said, like the government, you don't know why things are happening. You don't know who said what. Like I told you, there was a lot of things happening on set that, I mean, there were days on set in season 3 where I was just going, like you could feel it, but you didn't know exactly, that feeling where something weird's going on, but you don't know what's going on.
Right. And the fans definitely felt let down and like
really let down.
Two years of building stories and then it's just like shot in the middle of the show and then changing everything.
It wasn't handled, I felt it wasn't handled in a way, like what with New Amsterdam, they shot 3 seasons and then they wrapped up kind of every character, which I think is really respectful for fans, even though it's still hard.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you wrap it up, then you leave it in an integrity manner. And then that allows something to come maybe later on, right? But it wasn't a good day. It was shocking. I know. I was holding my daughter at home and I put her to bed and I mean, I was sobbing because I was just like, why? Because don't forget, I was on Kung Fu for 4 seasons. I loved that show. That was like, I loved it. And then we got canceled because there was issues on set from someone who had addiction problems. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I just want to work. And maybe can I have my own show? And which would be nice. And then I'll hire friends and we'll have fun and we'll bring people on as cameos. We can bring Melissa on, get Jimmy coming on. Kathy can play herself as the psychologist and like a therapist. No, I'm honestly, that's how it goes in life, right? I want my own show. I don't know if you know this, Jimmy, speaking of my own show, when I wrapped Kung Fu, or when we wrapped Kung Fu, I was brand new single mama. Steven Stone offered me my own show.
Wow.
And I've never had something like that in my life. Him and Linda. And he wanted me to, I could write all the music. And it's him and I, we're really close friends, right? And he has been, I get emotional. He was my entertainment lawyer, but then he was my mentor. And then we just became great friends. And then he always believed in my intuition. And he always said to me, you'd make a great manager. And he's been there for me through many difficult moments. And never once did he ever judge those moments, like, when you're going through something very tough, you don't need people to go, oh my God, you're so weak and now you're this. You need people that continue to believe in you when you're losing yourself in those moments. And I was devastated. I went through the child support law, all that kind of stuff, that thing. He was there for me. I just love and adore him, and so we've talked about that. If it was who I am now, never in an instant would I turn something like that down. But I was a brand new single mom. I was so exhausted from Kung Fu, and I didn't even know about being a mom. And like 28 years ago, nobody knew what narcissism was, right? Like, so when you're dealing with a narcissist, you didn't know what was going on, right? So when I got offered that show, it was a Canadian show, like beautiful little gem. I just said, I think I need to get on a plane and leave Toronto, which was, you're not supposed to have regrets in life, but that was a tough decision because it's not the city. I miss a lot of people there, and it's close to Chicago and Nashville. Who knows? Maybe I'll go back. Yeah. So, Stephen did. And we've talked about it, and he understood because he's a deep, compassionate soul. And I love him, him and his wife, respectfully. I just really love him, as a human being, because, when I did that whole brokering for Alex and Instant Star and this and that, there are people in Los Angeles that get paid big money to do stuff like that. And that's why when that happened and I was going through something, he was generous, and he took care of things because I actually never asked to be paid. And technically, I did more for her in that moment than an agent and a manager would, right?
Yeah.
So, and see me, if somebody does something for me, I'm always I've always been that way. Like, I wouldn't even think twice about it. I'd be like, hey, I'm paying you. Like, it's an exchange of, even if you don't have much, whatever it is, it's an exchange. Like, I think it's important in life, right? To
good faith. Yeah.
Thank you. But, we all know there's people that like to, they might forget or whatever, but no, he's awesome.
Final question for me, I like to ask everyone that we interview is,
have you had a facelift? No.
You're gorgeous.
No, I haven't.
No. What are your thoughts on So Weird still having this passionate fan base, and is there anything you'd want to say to the fans?
I think it's amazing. When there are legit fans, like I said, I'm a fan of shows. Okay. I've always, it used to bug me when some musicians I know, they never go to other musicians' shows. I'm like, why? That's so weird. I think that the fans are super smart. I think that they knew that this show was ahead of its time. And I think that their intelligence, when I say intelligence, I'm talking creative intelligence, spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence. I think they knew. And I don't know, I believe in miracles like that. I think that it's really important. I think it would be great to start bringing in things like maybe even do a healthy petition to Disney or whoever, but do it like in a, like this creative thing that we're talking about, right? Do it in a healthy way and in a cool, creative way. And let's figure out, I'm going to look for that jacket and stuff. We should do an auction and stuff for fans, and a fan, I'd love to give back to a fan like that, right?
That would be so cool. We could do a live, and maybe do a live auction.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. The thing that I do wish, but hey, we all went through the pandemic. I always wish too, is so weird. The thing that bugged me is that we never had the connections in person enough with the fans. Like on Kung Fu, we did those, what do you call those fan things? Where you get together and I mean, I loved that because it's like me hanging out with Marissa Hargitay. And even though I'm an actor and even though I'm proud of what, what I've done so far, and there's a lot more life to live, I'd love to sit with her and ask her things. And, how did you come to, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of her, not only her work, but the fact that she's touching base on subject matters. Like I actually could bring storylines to SUV. So,
Oh yeah.
I think it's really great for people to meet one another. I really think that it's because they canceled it too soon.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who was devastated, who was really devastated. Henry. He was
I can imagine.
He was so devastated and so upset. And I think he couldn't say certain things because I sent him cards and, I still have his address and I would always send him cards and, he always wanted to know what was going on. And, we would have the random phone call and this, that, and that. He said to me, I was really disappointed because I really believe it was supposed to go 100 episodes. I believed in this so much. So I don't think it was his decision.
It was just something that happened at Disney with all the shows in that time.
Somebody, and let's face it, things get back from the set to the producers, to the finance people. And when things get kind of wonky, I mean, I can say it now, God bless David Carradine, because David was really good to me. He actually stepped up for me to Warner Brothers because I came on as a guest star, right? And on Kung Fu, and then I got whacked. And I'm like, well, you can bring me back as a twin sister. And like, he went to Warner Brothers going, we finally get a really cool woman on this show and you kill her? What's wrong with you people, right? And he even wrote about it in his book, right? So, but we got canceled because his drinking got difficult. And one day, I think there was a fight scene and I think he kicked a kid. And Warner Brothers went, okay, we can't. Yeah, like when you start kicking kids, like, there's something like that happen, right? But I think they did a disservice to So Weird by not, they just honestly, and I've been there, and you all have been there in your lives, I don't know, but it's like a betrayal. It's like this, I think that there were quite a few people at Disney that wanted it to go. I did feel that, like, can I put my finger on it? Maybe not, but my gut told me that there was a lot of people that wanted it to go. They really did. And I think a combination of certain things that should have never happened on set, certain things that were inappropriate or things like that, and, something, and maybe somebody there said, I don't have any patience for this, and that's it, right? But I do, because the execs that I met from Disney, like we had lunch with some of, like there was different ones, right? I mean, they weren't schmoozy. They were genuine. They were just like, I don't know, like really kind of cool and nice and like, and not like, that feeling when someone likes you just because you happen to be hired on something. It wasn't like that. They were like really like, oh, this is like, we're really excited for this, right? And I think everybody thought this was going to be major, like 5 seasons, 6 seasons, 7 seasons. I would have loved that. So, I mean, it was like one day you're with someone, right? And the next day they kind of go, I'm not into this anymore.
Don't remind me.
Right? I've been through that too. And I'm going to remember this though. We'll have to put it into the series. I remember a person saying to me one day, and because it's like a scene, right? I had made this beautiful dinner. And I came back from a walk, and it was the first time I went for a walk, and I felt like eating because I was in so much grief for the last, honestly, 7 years. And I felt good, and okay, I'm gonna have a dinner. And 5 minutes before the dinner, he said, yeah, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And I went, what? Like, oh, you mean like the chicken or? No, just like just this. And I said, like, what? And then the Irene in me came in. Mm-hmm. And I never forget that I held myself and I looked him straight in the eye and I said, so who is she? He goes, that doesn't matter. I went, yeah, it matters. Mm-hmm. You made your choice. And I said, and have at it. I remember saying that, have at it, because at that point, I believe this in life. When something happens and it's hard for all of us human beings, it's really not easy to let go. Let go. Yeah. And I mean, when the show ended, it's the same feeling. You're kind of like, what just happened? Like, you have to go in recovery.
Yeah, it's like mourning a loss, several losses.
Yeah, and then I will say there's the financial end of things, because you're working 3 solid years. Okay, yeah, and then all of a sudden,
no more income.
Well, yeah, and the next year it was, so get this, so weird is 98, 99, 2000, right? Boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, going into that year and 201, when 9/11 happened, man, the industry, which it should, just went. And I admit to you guys, that's why when we just had the pandemic, it felt the same way. My whole life, since the time I was a kid, I was either training or I'm going to go get a job. And I could do that. Like, I was always working and doing stuff. It was the first time in my life. And I hear him with a kid going, the most devastating thing happened in the world, right? So I remember thinking, whoa, like, now what? And then you have to, you're trying to figure out how to pay taxes and doing all that stuff because you've made this money from a show. Like, yeah. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Who knows? Maybe it'll come back. I think it should be about Molly and my character. Not because, I am gonna say it. I really think it would be very interesting for our characters to bring it with all the stuff that you guys talk creatively to make it relevant.
And you both are music royalty, so it's like everyone can orbit around you too.
Well, and here's what would be really cool is, like you say, like, I love the ideas that you guys came up with all the flashback scenes and back to the fans, I think it would be kind of a cool thing to have a thing where once it's rebooted and you're in it and stuff, where we ask the fans, what would you like to see? What should we really go into the depths of? We didn't have the closure. And it would be like in a relationship where after all those years, you meet that person that left and you're sitting down together going, well, what would you like to see? Like, we want to hear from you guys. I think that would be amazing. Can you imagine the interactive stuff we could do?
So leave a comment. What would you like to see? We're still into the show because we're so passionate about it. We love you guys,
Well, that's why I say I think that the fans they had the emotional, spiritual, and creative intelligence. It wasn't like just fans going, why did you I want to watch this. It was way more than that, because I see what some of the fans they're doing. Yeah. And that they're like, wait a minute, like, we want a meeting with Disney. What happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I felt with this group. It's like,
and we had to have caused a ruckus because we've done petitions over the years, but it was 20 plus years. And as soon as we wrapped our final review, we finally got our show. Like, Disney heard us and they put it on Disney Plus, but it's the only show from that era that is on Disney Plus. None of the other shows from that era, like The Jersey or In a Heartbeat or any of the others, none of them are on there. Just so weird.
Right.
So I felt like it had to be our fan base.
It was such unique timing because we started this podcast like years ago. And we were just slowly reviewing one episode at a time. And then we finished all 65, and we're like, okay,
And
now what?
Disney
and
Plus. It was
then
a
the show came
miracle.
back. I was like,
It was
what?
a miracle.
It makes me realize, you know, sometimes you forget there's something in life where it's like, oh, next. And sometimes you go, wait a minute, like, you know, you forget, wait a minute, like, yeah, we did that. And oh, we did that, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
it really touched people. It really saved people. It saved me. It saved my life. It really did,
well,
that
hey,
show, you
know
guys.
what?
Honestly, same.
Yeah.
You know what? You know
Yeah.
why I understand that? Because when I was so numb in my worst part of the grieving and shock and trauma, and I was going to see my osteopath, and I was coming home, there are certain shows that I would sit down and have a meal, and then I would watch the shows, and it would almost like, right, they give you the space to fall apart. They give you the space to cry. And there are shows that literally kept me going.
Yeah, So Weird was definitely that show for me, as it aired between my ages of 9 and 11.
Wow.
And I had a very tragic childhood, kind of very neglected by my mom and stuff. I wouldn't say outright abused, but kind of. And So Weird was my escape.
Wow.
I would stay up late, way past my bedtime, just to watch the show.
Wow. And
Yeah.
can I ask you, Melissa, do you live on your own now?
Yeah, my mom, she eventually got better. Her problem was basically just with drugs. But she died like 5 years ago. So yeah, I live on my own. Well, on my own with a roommate.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you know what's amazing about you telling me that? Like, I can feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
That I see the 9-year-old girl,
Yeah.
you know, and I see her watching that show and what that did for her. Because I would always say to my own daughter, like, don't believe in ageism, because when you're younger, they always say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I was that 9-year-old girl that got abused at 9 years old. I was assaulted at 9 years old by a family member, you know, by the very person that then, the same person that years later ends up doing what he did, right? So
Yeah.
when I think of children and their intuition and someone's intuition, or if someone's 104 years old, like, never negate what somebody knows. You knew, like, the amazing person in you that was helping you parent yourself and give yourself a safe space and give yourself not like an escape, but a place that you could go to where there wasn't that feeling of abuse, whatever it was, and all the stories, you took yourself there. That is courage. And we don't know that we're brave and we're courage until years later we go, whoa, I actually was a brave little girl. I was a brave little boy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I left home when I was 13. I asked my mom and dad to leave home to go train in dancing. And when I see that girl now, I mean, I could have come home at any time, but I know why I sunk myself into dancing, because it was, and music and everything, because I didn't know, how do you deal with trauma like that?
Yeah.
You don't know. And that's why, as a so-called adult, when my mom passed and my dad passed now, and I think, like, we talk about the 9-year-old child, when they did what they did, that 9-year-old little girl came all out again. I was just like, you know, so that's amazing to me, that to me is emotional, spiritual intelligence, that you went to that, like,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm gonna say, like executives and things like that, when they hear stuff like that and when they know stuff like that, like, that's like, especially now, the ears go up. They go, oh, okay, so that's what it's doing for people.
Yeah.
I actually am visualizing you doing that. What about you, Jimmy? When did you like?
It was kind of a strange time. For me, I think I was 12 when I first saw the first season. I remember, but I was young and I was like struggling with my sexuality, and I've
Yeah,
always been really into the paranormal and into the occult and stuff. Spirituality. I'm such a spiritual person, super empathetic. I love hanging out with the older ones. When I was a young child, I would like
yeah,
visit old ladies. Like I wanted to hear their stories.
Mhm.
I would
yeah,
cry
yeah,
with them. But
yeah.
my mom lost custody of my sister and my two brothers, and my grandma took the three of us that are from my dad. And
Oh,
my grandmother is a staunch Jehovah's Witness. So
wow.
she gave me a lot of hell for loving So Weird the way I did. My entire family, like for years and years, hated how much I loved that show. Like I can't
Oh.
even tell you like how much abuse they gave me, because they would tell me I was like delusional and that I live in a fantasy land, or that the show is demonic. That I'm going against God by liking it. I'm never going to be a singer because that's not what Christians should do. They should go out and preach. And I really had to exercise a lot of those, like the trauma of that. And I think that is such a brainwashing cult that people, they get so
God.
defensive.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it saved my life because my mom was gone. She's off being a drug addict. And I just really attached myself to you guys. Like I learned your histories. I watched everything you guys did. I listened to everything you sing, everything you say. And I made them like the family that I wanted. And so my parents were gone, and my grandma, who was not very empathetic or loving, she's an Aries. I love her
Oh.
now. We're closer now, but
Is
back then,
anybody on here in Aries so we can say something?
Mhm.
Sagittarius.
Okay, so see, even that, what you just shared with me, I'm visualizing it all. I mean, because we just all four of us did that creative session earlier tonight. Like that's what people like when we're writing scripts, we just did like a script writing session, right? So that
mhm,
little boy, he the producer in him, the creator in him, the wanting another family, like all that, like he had this emotional intelligence. He was guided, right? Like
mm,
that's, isn't it a shame that because the teachings of Jesus and all that, it's also amazing. It's all that religiosity, it's all the dogma that screws everything up, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And what about Kathy? I don't think you've ever told me. How did you?
I was younger. I think I was maybe 6, 7 or so when it came out. I was very, very young, but I more so rediscovered it as I got older, remembering liking this show, and
Oh,
I've always been drawn to like the deeper shows or the ones that like they have a deeper layer. And so I
yeah,
love that about So Weird, kind of focusing on grief, right? How everyone handled it.
yeah. Oh, and look, I mean, look at what
Like,
you do now.
yeah, so I think I was just drawn to those real emotions that you found in a kid show that you don't, I guess, expect. But like you said, ageism, it doesn't matter. You're
No,
drawn to it. You're drawn to. You can connect to that.
I mean, when I
And then, I
yeah.
met Jimmy and Melissa online years ago. So I've had this
Oh,
kind of like this family where we've known each other, I don't know, for like maybe a decade or so.
yeah, we
okay.
like grew
Yeah,
up
it's been a
together.
long time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's how it happened. I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
We had to find each other because we all shared this mutual love. Like Kathy reached out to
Right.
me, but just because she saw how much I love the show, like, because I don't shut up
Right.
about it. I'm so vocal about it, or I was for so long.
It'd be kind of
Mhm.
cool to find out from all the fans how each one of them, just like what you guys shared, how did they come to it? Because that's very prophetic. I'm
Yeah.
visualizing Melissa. I'm visualizing Kat. I'm visualizing Jimmy. And oh my God, you know what? I want to like run away with Melissa and Jimmy and go get them,
Oh,
Because I know that feeling. I know that kid that's scared.
Yeah.
Because I was that kid, and I had really great mom and dad, but they didn't know things that were going on, right? So yeah, that makes a lot of sense why we resonate with certain things. And that's why I don't even think they realized. I think they realized what a gem, but they didn't realize it enough.
for the cultural impact of it. It was very impactful for many people.
Yeah.
On that note, it has been a pleasure, and we love you so much. And thank you for coming back and talking with us. It's been an absolute dream.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah.
It's good for me.
Thank you for sharing so much.
Yeah.
It's good for
Yeah,
me too.
it's been fun.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Jimmy. Cutie. Bye.
Bye.
Melissa.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.